1977, a new legislative session. Wheeler Tillman from Charleston sponsors a helmet repeal bill. We had our first public hearings. And in the House, we found out that the legislators, even though they know that kids should be the responsibility of parents, they were all worried about it. Oh, these people are going to die, and what are we going to do? Woe is me, woe is me. We said, okay. So they said, how about if we make it 18? We said, okay, we can deal with that. I mean, if you're old enough to die for your country, or kill people for your country and perhaps die, then you're old enough to make those decisions. Too bad we don't remember that when we come to drinking laws. And so we got a bill that said if you're 18 or over, you don't have to wear a hat, you're not going to get arrested, incarcerated, and fined. Went through the House. We had our public hearings, and it went through the House. It went to the Senate. We had our public hearings. It passed through the Senate. Jimmy Edwards, recently elected governor, Republican, said, man, if that bill makes it to my desk, I'll sign it. He didn't think it had a snowball's chance in hell of making it to his desk. Guess what? It made it to his desk. Jimmy Edwards vetoed our bill, and we didn't find out about it till the day we showed up here. And the Capitol Police, there was an old fellow that worked here, really nice guy. He was always friendly to us, and we were always friendly to him, and we'd make sure all our stuff was put in the office over there, and because they don't like you wearing knives and guns and whatever around here. So he was real good about that stuff, and he says, you know, that boy vetoed your bill. I thought it was funny he called the governor that boy, but he was an old fellow. He said he vetoed the bill. We were devastated. We couldn't believe it. We're there for a bill signing ceremony. We find out the governor vetoed the bill. Not only vetoed the bill, he hauled ass out of town. He didn't want to be confronted with it. And then he said, oh, the bikers are threatening him, so he doubles up his bodyguards, carries 2 guns, and basically it was a real trip. 1978 through 80, we licked our wounds. We decided to regroup and decide what can we do about this stuff. We got to get a new governor in there. 1980, we got a new governor, Dick Riley. We get a new bill filed by Paul Jelligatis, a Democrat from Charleston, James Island. This time, age of responsibility, 21. How can people argue with the 21? It's hard to do that. We have our public hearing in the House. I call it St. Valentine's Day Massacre because it happened on St. Valentine's Day. And we were ready for these SOBs, that's Sons of a Barbarian. We had us. Our enemies had data. They had stacks and stacks of data. They had video. They had all kinds of crap. And I know when I got up there, I said, you know, we all have the same data. Their data is our data, so we're not going to give you any. And the legislators were, you could see, obviously, on their faces, they were glad not to get any more of that data. It's absurd. We, to show you how good things were that day, the room we were going to have the hearing in was too small, so we had to go to a bigger room. And, you know, we got to take a piss break and that kind of stuff. So we go, and we're sitting in there, we're talking about, you know, adults having choices and not being arrested for doing this stuff. And there was a young man there. Turned out he was 21. He's got a suit on, tie, and the whole works. And he'd been listening to us. And turns out he was there with some doctor. And this kid had a motorcycle accident, and he fell down, and he was glad he was wearing a helmet. This kid gets up there, or actually the doctor gets up there, and he gives his little usual spiel, everything you expect to hear. And he calls the kid up there. He said, this is so-and-so, and he was in an accident, yada, 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 yada. So the chairman of the committee starts asking some questions. And the doctor's answering for the kid. And finally the chairman says, excuse me, you've had your turn. I want to hear what this man has to say. It was amazing. This kid, who was there for the doctor, man, 21 years old. He said, yes, sir, I was, blah, 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 I had an accident, I fell on my head, you know, blah, blah, or whatever it was, I scraped up my helmet, and he says, but I think if you're 21, you should be able to decide on whether or not you want to wear a helmet. You could have heard a pin drop, and then, boom! Everybody's clapping and raising Cain, and the doctors, he's just turned white now because his guy was agreeing with us that once you're 21, you got to make these decisions on your own. And it was great. And from then on, the legislators were laughing their behinds off because they knew right then and there that our opponents, our enemies of liberty, didn't have a leg to stand on. They had numbers. We had people. If you're familiar with the South Carolina State Constitution, it says Article 1, Section 1 of that Constitution, all political power is vested in the people only. Therefore, they have the right at all times to modify their form of government. That's the first thing in our Constitution for the state of South Carolina. We were there. We were the people. In the House, listen, the House, that bill passed the House in flying colors. It went through committee, went through the House. When it got to the Senate didn't even bother having a public hearing. They passed it, boom, like that. We were on our way. June 16, 1980. We go to State House here. We're waiting for the thing that they have a ceremony thing, gets accepted in the House, goes to the Senate, blah, 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 that goes to the governor's desk. We're in there. I still got my Senate pass for seeing it read through. It goes through, yay, down to the governor's office. So we trot down to the governor's office. What are you doing here? Well, our bill made it through, and now we're waiting for the governor to sign it. Well, he's got to go out of town, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, we're waiting here. We're going to wait here until he signs it. Well, it might be a while. So we're going to wait here until he signs it. You sure? Yeah, we're sure. Because guess what we remember? 1977, when that lion person. We waited for what seemed like hours. It was probably maybe 30 minutes at the most, but it seemed like hours. Secretary comes out. He signed your bill. Yay! Oh, happy day. We want to see it. We want to see it? Yeah, we need to see it. Okay. Lady went away. Seemed like a couple more hours, probably 2 minutes. She comes out with the bill. Snap, 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 snap. We're taking pictures, doing all kinds of stuff. We've got the thing. She was so impressed by the fact that we were waiting and wanted to see it and wanted to make sure that we had proof that she said, do you guys want a copy of that bill? Well, duh. So I still have my original copy given to me by the governor's office that I got on June 16, 1980. One of the things I find interesting about it is it's dated. Well, it says at the bottom, Section 3, this act shall take effect upon approval by the governor. Approved, 16 June 1980, Richard W. Riley. There were a lot of people riding around that night without helmets. Oh, I tell you what, if you guys weren't around, the night of the 16th was so memorable. People are riding all over the place without hats. They're getting stopped by the cops for not wearing hats. They're asking the cops, oh, go ahead, please give me a ticket. And the cops are not used to people asking them for tickets, because you know why they wanted a ticket? They wanted a memento for the newsletter. In late 83, helmet law reinstated, and I made up a story. Try to get people to wake up that this thing can get through a lot easier than we want to believe. It freaked people out. Even made it into Easy Riders in the February 84 edition. 85, there was a little article in the paper about these doctors who wrote a study on the effectiveness of helmets and helmet law repeal in the state of South Carolina. I like that. That's music in my ear. The study got me thinking we got to do something. So I approached the board, whatever we call it. We used to call them area coordinators, and said we need to have something like a helmet protest, but we can't really protest because we like the law. I said, how about a helmet law support rally? They said, what, do you out of your mind? I said, no, we worked a long time for this bill. It's our bill. Let's support it. And the beauty of it is that when we did have our first helmet law support rally in '85, the highway department guys were here. You know, they're watching and stuff, and the reporters were going over and saying, what do you think about this helmet law? You know, it's, oh yeah, well we support it. And I'm listening to this stuff, and I said, oh man, I'm glad you guys finally are on board. You know, we've been working real hard to try to get you guys to support our bill. Oh no, we're against the helmet law. How can you guys be against the helmet law? And so basically they shut up, because what are they going to do? They couldn't support the helmet law. They couldn't be against the helmet law. They just said, well, I think you ought to be able to arrest adults, and the reporters wanted to know if they were adults. And it was fantastic. I do hope that we fight really hard to maintain our liberty and let those people know in Myrtle Beach that they might pass a law saying you got to wear a hat and you got to have a sticker on your muffler and all kinds of crud. They're going to have to spend a whole lot more money in litigation than they will in they're going to save, or they think they're going to save. But anyway, I want to thank everybody that actually stayed around and made it, period. There's a whole lot more of you that didn't come that could have come. And sorry to take so long, but you can't condense 40 years plus of motorcycle helmet law history in a very short period of time. The helmet law support rally, the 24th. I'm looking forward to the 25th. I want to thank everybody for being here. You're great Americans.